We've had a few weeks of really cold weather. It got down to -6, -7 degrees Celsius. And so I covered all of the plants with like old sheets and things that I use when I do painting in the house, that sort of thing, old bedding. And it really just kept the worst of the cold off, and it prevented the leaves from getting really burnt and damaged. So all these chili and guavas here are doing really well. They didn't get any damage, and they can get quite hurt by cold winds and frost. But luckily that didn't happen. But over here I have my Physalis, and I had covered them as well, and they were doing really well. But then towards the very end of the cold snap, something happened, and somehow the sheets sort of either got blown by the wind, or maybe some wild animals came in and moved them, birds, something else. I'm not sure what else could be, maybe a neighbor's cat or something. Anyhow, I came out in the morning and I saw that on a really cold day the sheets had been moved and were sort of not covering these poor plants. And this is what happens, they really can't take frost. So look at all these lovely Physalises that will never be, all of this is really turning to mush now. And so what I'm going to do, I mean, there's some that's okay, and I'm thinking that the roots are still there. So I'm going to actually prune this, all these plants, right down to the base. And then every time we get any more frost, because it's bound to happen again before spring, then I'll just come out and cover them again, and it'll be easier to cover them when they're closer to the ground. Look at this guy, he was a little shoot too. But yeah, it is just this sort of growth that's just, all the foliage has just really been damaged here. So I think it is time to prune them. I should have done this earlier really, but it's quite tricky to know, because one year I had fruits that were ripening in December, and some of these fruits are getting quite decent sized. So it would have been nice if we'd had some nice mild weather, they could have ripened up, but that's just not to be. So if I get them pruned down, I really want to keep them because they take forever to get going when I start them from seed. And if I keep the roots, I'll have some nice early fruit. They do shoot up quite quickly when the roots are there and when the plants are established. So I'll just prune them down. I think I'll prune this guy, for example. Just have a little look. I've got my pruners here. I'll just go down and I'll cut down to as far down as I can go. I could go there. And because it's not freezing at the moment, it's actually, the weather is amazing. We had a huge storm last night, but right now it's like 12 degrees Celsius, and it should be like 11 degrees Celsius overnight. So it's just like really nice weather, and that means I could prune these guys. We haven't got any frosts coming for the next few weeks at least. So if I prune them, they'll be okay, and then they won't get shocked or anything, and then they can hopefully just survive when I'll be covering them up every time it happens again. And they should shoot up loads of growth from the base too. And I've probably shown you before, but I do have a really large plant I've kept inside all winter, and it's just doing really well. So I can always get lots of cuttings from it and get them started too if these ones don't survive, but they really should. Their roots should be fine. I will keep the roots nice and protected, but it's just a shame this happened. This is something that's kind of inevitable. It's really hard to keep these kind of things alive. I think they would be so good to keep growing if you had a bigger greenhouse. I only have a tiny greenhouse, so it doesn't really work for me, but they'll do really well in like a polytunnel or a greenhouse. I do really love these guys. But I'll keep you updated, and hopefully I'll have some beautiful fruit early on.